What's going on, everybody? What's going on, folks? And welcome to the D-constructing Topic podcast. My name is David, and I'm your legendary host of this legendary podcast. And we have another good one. We are talking about some recent events that have occurred in the past week in regards to the attack in New Orleans and in regards to what happened in the Trump Tower in Vegas with the Tesla car with some individual blowing up and whatever it is that happened. So much going on, so much to talk about. And I just want to say first and foremost that this podcast, it has a lot of information, and I'm taking this opportunity to kind of educate the people, some people that might not be aware of certain things that has happened or certain things that might have led up to the things that these two events or these two attacks, whatever it is that the media is calling it, but we make it happen. And just a heads up, my views are my views, and my views are only. It has nothing to do with anything else other than that is just the way I see things, and I want to give a take more or less or educate people. One of the things that I'm most likely not going to use is the names of the individuals that committed the attack, but I am going to kind of point out certain things that sometimes I say question everything. Welcome to the Deconstructing Topic podcast. Feel free to hit the like button, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. You already know, we be talking it all. And you out there, we want to educate the people on what's going on in regards to what's going on. You know what I mean? And I just want to point out that this past week, as many of you know, is that there was an attack, an individual who drove this truck, New Orleans, whatever, it was New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, and there was people that were perished, including the driver, as there was some type of stand down with him and the police just whooped, and he was gone. And, immediately the reports is, it's an attack, it's a, terrorist attack. First, initially it was some type of attack, but people would start to okay, there was an ISIS flag and this going on. Then the individual had a military background and this going on. And, there's a lot of information that just gets to be thrown out there. And a lot of people assume, boom, a terrorist attack, that means that you belong to XXXX, right? Whether it's religious, supremacy, white supremacy, whatever it is, they start filling out the blanks. And then the attack that happened in the Trump Tower, Tesla first initially, Tesla car, excuse me. For those people that know that the Tesla is an electronic car, and off the bat, one might think, okay, hey, I guess Elon Musk, the owner and the CEO of Tesla, hey, listen, something's going on with your car, but apparently there was an individual in there who had explosive. My understanding is that he self-deleted before the car exploded. Some people were wounded. Nobody was killed. But the person that was inside the car decided to self-delete it. Once again, the media fill out the blank. And I start to think, and I tell people, once more information started coming out, there's one factor. And again, I don't want people to start putting their tinfoil conspiracy hat on, because a lot of people, and sadly, let's say people in my audience or other audience, where they get the news is from the mainstream media, the CNN, Fox News, New York Times, New York Post, MSNBC, that I say is CNN. These are what they call corporate media. And corporate media is just going to feed you information, whether it's misinformation or not. They're just going to give you information and you're going to run with it and think, sometimes you're going to miss the point, because the thing about the media is that they're going to push a narrative. You know what I mean? When they push a narrative, you're going to forget the little things. And one of the things that I've noticed in regards to those individuals is that they both were former military, right? I'm like, the other thing to my understanding is that they both had little domestic dispute with their spouses. I mean, I'm just saying, hey, listen, something's going on. Now, they always bring up the mental issue. That's a whole thing going on there. But then it starts to hit me. And for my audience out there, apologize for that, sipping a little bit of that water. We making it happen because we got so much stuff to talk about. And I'm going to try to keep it as simple and as narrow as I can just to provide some information and a little bit of context. And it just dawns on me that they former military. That's one angle that we tend to forget when it comes to certain things that happen in the United States. We kind of forget, and I kind of reminded and went to my socials because already people already pinpointing. Bam, 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 bam. Oh, it's a terrorist attack. It's ISIS. It's this group. It's this group. And you see the military complex in the United States kind of licking their fingers, licking their chop like, ooh, we're going to have a nice budget, $3 trillion budget. Let's go out there. Do the kind of the similar thing that after 9/11 happened where, the 9/11 attacks happened, but yes, it was terrorists, it was this and that. But, as years passed by, more information started coming out that sadly it was something that could have been avoided, and it wasn't. And what happened after that is that the United States goes out there primarily, yes, they go after Afghanistan and Osama bin Laden, but they also do the Iraq thing with Saddam Hussein, and all in the name of what? Freedom, right? And you start to realize, wow, we be forgetting sometimes, and in this country. And I love United States, right? I love America. And I tell people I love America. What I don't like about it is how politicians, the media, and so on, they undermine the intelligence of Americans. They make them kind of like a little bit dumbed down, and they take advantage. And when they say take advantage, like, hey, let me pay Uncle Sam some tax money. Pay up because we need to go to war, and I want your tax money. It ain't for you. Oh, you hungry? Sorry. Too bad. You have a job, right? Go. Why are you hungry for? People do struggle. And I say to myself, hey, listen, even myself, I got a regular 9-to-5 job. Hey, listen, stuff happens in life. Because you got to keep in mind is this. When you are in a family, whether it's a small, large, whatever it is, one cannot assume that everybody's working or doing their thing or whatever. Someone is bound to do something and be in a position to help other people in the family. So stuff does happen. Then I remind people that, listen, in this country, when it comes to certain things, boom, let me get your tax money. So when I tell people that, I start to remind people, right, that the first U.S. mass shooter back in the 1960s, and we're talking about in August 1st, 1966, the University of Texas Tower shooting. There was an individual, so University of Texas out there, the Longhorns, they got this tower with a clock. And basically this individual just, who apparently, once again, I'm just going to mention this out, former military. And this, even though my understanding that in United States, they might have prior mass shooting, but this one was different. This was an individual that just happened to be in the military, a sniper, and just went up to the roof of this tower and started I believe my understanding was 18 people that was killed and more than 50 people injured or something to that effect. So imagine that. But once again, former military. Prior to that, the John F. Kennedy assassination, John F. Kennedy, former president of the United States, 1960, 1963. While doing the little thing for a second term, for those people out there, he was in his first term. He had one more year, but, he was doing the campaigning. Once again, Texas, he gets assassinated. Harvey Lee Oswald, once again, former military. You understand here, what's going on here? Now, in my era, in the 90s, mid-90s, you got the Oklahoma bombing. A certain individual, Timothy McVeigh or whatever, and then I think there was somebody else, planted a car, boom. In a federal building that had kids. I mean, I think it was like 200-something people died. And once again, there's that thing, military. But, at that time in the 90s, off the bat, you would think that it was somebody from the religious sector. Then they play around with the supremacy. So you see what I'm saying? The media tends to kind of throw you these talking points, whether this terrorist attack was due to the religious zealots or white supremacy or whatever it is. But again, a lot of these events and things happen, people from the military. And it goes back to there's certain operations, in my understanding, whether it's MKUltra from the 50s to 60s, where the CIA kind of, in a sense, drugged up people using mind control and so on and so forth. And I'll be honest with you, when these attacks happen, you start to think that something gets psyoped. And what does psyop mean? Psyop means when something gets confiscated or either worked by a government agency, and it's a psyop means psychological operation that is going to stir up something. And you got Operation Mockingbird, or what they call Operation Mockingbird from the 50s to the 60s as well, 70s, where the government, United States government, the CIA, worked with certain news outlets to kind of change the way the news is or what kind of information. And, it's something that still happened at the moment, right? You kind of changed so that you could sell some type of narrative. And sadly, in America, the American people, let's just say. And I love the American people. That's who I love. That's why I'm doing these podcasts. So I can educate my Americans and everybody across the world. Is that how can you live life and say, the taxes and, listen, there's a lot of Americans don't mind paying taxes, but a lot of times you start to see when some of these tax money's going, not anywhere, to you, to help you or your surroundings. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But then you complaining, United States, they always sending money to other countries, but they don't care about us. Then something like this happened, and out of nowhere, you start watching the news. It's an attack on freedom. It's an attack on you. And then out of nowhere, you change it to, well, I guess I'd rather, freedom is more important to me than my own issues, right? So here's my tax money. I don't know where you're not complaining about it. See how that works? And when you got these MKUltra operations, Operation Mockingbird, and I said to myself, remember 1898, the Spanish-American War. For those not familiar, that's how Puerto Rico became part of the United States. Part of the Paris Treaty is that basically United States and the news said, hey, boom, in Cuba, the Spanish blew up one of our ships. Let's go and attack the Spanish. Within 2 months or so, war is over. Spanish gave up. I think that was probably like the last of the Spanish Empire. Then they went to some type of civil war after that. They said, that's it. No more. And then the United States became the powers that be after that. But the true story behind that is that the ship blew up on itself, some type of gas, but the media used it as, misinformed people that United States been attacking. The Americans was, yeah, let's go. Let's sign up. And this is my thing when it comes to these situations, these events. Admittedly, there's a narrative. I'm pretty sure there's people right now who a couple of months ago would probably be like, oh, United States, it's sending money to Israel, Ukraine, all this. Now this happened, I want to sign up. Yeah, I want to sign up for war because our freedom is more important. But again, look at the little red flag that I'm just saying to myself. It's people from the military. Sometimes you got to understand that, sadly, people who join the military and they do tours. When I say tours, we're talking about 3, 4, 8 years tours. They go to Afghanistan and go to Iraq. They go to other places, other countries that we might know because United States have a lot of bases doing these operations. And I'm one to admit that, absolutely. Is there other people in other countries that wake up and say, hey, let's harm America? But sometimes we don't ask why one wants to wake up and do that. Perhaps United States did something. I'm from Puerto Rico. United States did a lot of dirt in Puerto Rico. And the reaction to that is that we had groups that were ready to fight that battle eye for an eye. And I want people to just kind of like, when you start to think about these events and so on, you have to kind of think, and now that you know that there are certain operations that United States takes part of or they create to kind of control the narrative. Sometimes I say to myself, and I even talk about these things and I tell other people, is that sometimes you might say, well, what person is willing to sacrifice themselves? maybe there's a story behind it. Again, Project MKUltra. You drug up people, you give them something, and sadly, when you do that, then hey, listen, they more influence and more willing to do your bidding. So when you go out there and you see somebody and these things happen again, keep in mind, look at the other things. Like if the person was a former military, just leave it as that, right? Because there are people that, again, when I was trying to point out here, is that when they do this military thing, they go out there, they come back, hey, they got these PDST, the post-traumatic stress syndrome, or disorder that they just can't function the way a regular person can function back to society. They get on these meds, they put them on meds, they go through these drama, and even something as simple. Let's say, my understanding is that the two individuals might have some type of history of domestic dispute, nothing crazy, my understanding, but just divorce. I think that would be the word. Even something that simple, quote unquote, could just trigger someone to say, hey, my understanding that the person that did the self-deleted and did the event on the Trump Tower in Las Vegas had a manifesto and talking about how he's not happy with the system and him kind of going out like that, like people are going to talk about certain things. And hey, we've seen this before. We heard this story before, like the individual that lit up himself on fire in front of the Israel embassy. So, always keep in mind that sometimes there's a price to pay. And I always said, and it's one of the philosophies that I always talk about, is that when we are doing something good, we want to do something good in this world, always keep in mind, someone else is going to pay the price, right? When these less than a decade, when these two political parties are talking about, if you vote for this person, it's an insult to our democracy, or they're going to take away democracy. And I say, look at it this way. So these Americans that keep putting and keep voting for the same duopoly, why is it that they're talking about your democracy? I'm telling you, when they are telling you that they're fighting for your democracy, somebody's going to pay the price in another country. And when United States sends some of these people, some of these soldiers to other countries to say, we're protecting your freedom, a lot of soldiers are going to pay the price. Either they're going to die in vain, Pat Tillman story, or they're going to come here with mental issues, traumatic issues. And look at this situation in regards to the individual that drove the truck. They just say that for the sake of anything that triggered him, he just decided to pick up, and guess what? 14 other lives died in that day. Think about what the price is. Someone's going to pay the price. Every time that you hear the word, we're fighting for your freedom, trust me, you're going to wake up and you're going to Memorial Day salute the troops on. For every troop that's alive, there's a lot of them that are going to pay the price, and they're going to find out that, wait a minute, I was kind of duped. So that's what's going on. So what we learned today is the Project MKUltra. We talked about the Operation Mockingbird. Once again, all these events and things happen from former military personnel. Believe it or not, it's something that historically has happened in this country. And there's certain attacks, there's certain events that sadly there's people that serve the army and they learn and train to shoot and kill and do a lot of stuff. Hope you enjoyed it. Once again, this is the D-constructingTopics podcast, and I'm out, folks. Peace. Hope you enjoyed it. Once again, hit the like, share, and comment and all that good stuff. And subscribe like always. Be safe out there. Peace.